people don't realise the severity of the smart tech agenda and how that sort of interlinks with your digital ID, digital programmable money. Everything feeds back into the 5G and smart city infrastructure. They will be able to shut you off your banking system. They will be able to control your movement and restrict your liberty. In the human augmentation document, the next phase on to that is the augmentated glasses, and then the phase on from that would be the chipping. If drones did take over and start occupying our skies, that means privacy is gone.
Hello and welcome to the Resistance GB podcast. My name's Emma Dunwell and today I'm joined by Cassie from the National Residents Association. How are you today? And thank you for joining me.
Oh, hi, Emma. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm great. I was hoping today we could talk a little bit about the 15-minute Cities film that you've got in the making. If you could tell us a little bit about that.
Well, the new one that we have is the solar, wind and battery storage unit film, which is... It's more about a problem that I think people are starting to see across the country, which is solar farms being placed here, there and everywhere on mainly what seems to be potentially arable land. It is variable. I mean, in some situations, they are putting them applications in for greenbelt land, and the film that we've created is to sort of showcase the veracity of this problem nationwide. So it goes into 3 different topics. So it touches on the solar components of it, and then it teases into wind turbines, and then it also goes into something called BESS, which is battery energy storage systems. Battery energy storage systems, for the people that don't know what they are, they're the same sort of size as a shipping container. And so when your solar energy doesn't generate enough power, what then happens is that then kicks back into the battery energy storage system.
Right.
So the battery energy storage systems, usually they might need about maybe 1 right the way up to 6, or some sites might even have 12 or more, depending on the land that they're going to be occupying. So this is what the film's all about, is to share that with people, because people are quite unaware of the problem.
This podcast is able to happen thanks to NutriHealth 365 vitamins. For information on how vitamin D crucially supports your immune system, click the link below. More on NutriHealth later. So you said that this isn't the first film that you've made. What was your first inspiration that made you want to do something like this?
Well, we've been going for quite a few years now, the National Residents Association, and I realised the whole reason for starting the National Residents Association was because we needed something, a vehicle, to be relatable to the general public. So if you think about everything that's happening in this country, most of the decisions are being driven by our local council. So obviously it's going from the government, or potentially World Economic Forum, down to the government, and then it's going down to the council areas to roll it out nationally across the country. So I wanted a vehicle in order for people to be able to push back in a way that we could then get the support of the general public. So I used quite a layman terms name, really, with the basis that we could do that. And part of the reason was the rollout of 5G was quite unprecedented, but not just 5G, it was smart tech as well. So, yeah.
So was that the kind of the topic that first got you thinking, I need to start telling people about what's coming?
Yeah, really, I guess, really, because like from a surveillance infrastructure and your smart tech, everything's smart tech. People don't realise the severity of the smart tech agenda, I don't think, and how that sort of interlinks with your digital ID, all of the digital programmable money. Everything feeds back into the 5G and smart city infrastructure. Yeah. And a lot of people are quite unaware of that. So, yeah.
When did you start realising that all of these policies and everything that we're kind of struggling with, that the people want to go against, When did you start thinking that they're coming from higher up, and how did you find that out? Did you find proof of that personally?
Well, I mean, you can't. I mean, you just need to watch organisations like the World Economic Forum and start to question what is actually happening. So when you really do study that agenda per se, you then start to realise, well, actually, hang on a minute, these derivatives seem to be then coming from national government. Then that's being rolled out through our local councils to bring in the wider sort of agenda. So it's been going on for quite a few years now, yeah.
And how prevalent is the threat of things like, because when people think of smart tech, obviously they think 15-minute cities, they think restrictions on travel. How far would it go? I mean, are we looking at in 10, 20 years when every vehicle is electric that they'll just be able to switch it off when you're driving and say, oh, you're not going any further? Is that what we're looking at?
Yes, yeah. Apparently, actually, I have been informed that cars, if they're above newer than a 2015 plate, they can already switch you off. So
In that exact way?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I have been told, but I'm still, but newer cars, the newer the car, the easier it will be to switch you off, especially, from your carbon credits. So let's just say, for an example, you have gone beyond your carbon credit usage. Could just easily switch your money off, or they can switch your car off, or electricity, whatever it might be. So it's an infrastructure.
Do you think, how long away do you think we are from seeing a rollout of this on I suppose, a tyrannical scale? Because we're already seeing hints of it here and there. When do you think it's going to really start being pushed on us?
This is a good question. So the 5G rollout was the first, for me, what seemed to be one of the first agendas, which would be, encompassing of the smart city. It's a key fundamental in smart city rollout. Then we've kind of moved into now we've seen more surveillance cameras nationwide. And I think people are just starting to see cameras everywhere.
Yeah.
So excessive amounts of cameras, whether that's in the supermarket or whether that's, you're driving down the road or on the motorway or wherever you might be. So it's already encroaching upon us in our daily lives. And people, I think it's irrefutable now that it's already there. But from a catastrophic sort of, when will it really come into being? I think if we lost our food supply, there is that potential that the justification could come.
Do you think it will be similar like with, when we had the pandemic and we had so-called COVID, it was an excuse in order to take away liberties such as freedom of movement that we wouldn't have complied with without a pandemic in place? Is that the kind of thing that you think they'll impose?
Yeah, I feel that there is that potential, and albeit that's where the community will become very, very, very important.
Yeah.
So if we have limited food supply in this country, and I mean, even if you look at government statistics, it says 54% of the food is grown in the UK. I've been to talks with people that are specialists in this kind of domain, and they've said, no, it's far less that we're growing in this country. So now if we want to put solar farms or wind farms on potential arable land, there was a group up in Lincoln, and they were trying to cover about 7,000 acres of solar farm. And that's just in one area alone. Then you look at Burnley. They're trying to put battery energy storage systems up there. Now, recently we've had quite numerous different fires with battery energy storage systems. There was in Liverpool a couple of years ago, there was a huge fire, and I think it took about 79 hours to put that fire out from a battery energy storage system.
Oh my goodness.
And now, obviously, we're going to be using these as renewable energy source all around the country.
And we're being told that this is going to be far more reliable.
Yes, that's correct.
Speaking of reliability, how much, we've all seen in the news that these big solar farms that have gone up, and then we had a storm I can't remember what the storm was called now, but it just completely obliterated the solar farms.
Yeah.
Is that going to be something? Are they just going to keep building them, and then they're going to keep? What is the cost of something like that?
This is a very good question. Now, they're quite exuberant costs. And I haven't actually got any figures with me right now, unfortunately, but I do have some that I can give you, but off the top of my head, so you might want to delete this bit. But yes, it's very high maintenance to keep that going. And especially with the fires. So if it's, say, a battery energy storage system that catches on fire, so not only is it people being put in risk locally, then people might need to leave their homes.
Yeah.
It's the same with the Storm Daria, wasn't it, with the solar farm?
Yeah.
People are going to have to rebuild that. And who's going to benefit from the electricity? But you think about it. What about the weather? Let's just say it's snowing or not. It's raining. The UK experiences rain quite frequently.
Yeah.
How are we going to be able to generate power from solar?
Well, certainly not sunny enough. I mean, that's one thing that Brits are constantly complaining about is the weather. So,
Exactly.
Do you think that there is, it's obviously not solar for the reasons we've just covered, do you think that there is a single so-called renewable energy source that we could be using that would satisfy the net zero hunger that we're seeing from the government?
Well, they've got about 27 different types in total.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm not an expert in this particular area, but if you think about it, even wind turbines, we're still using POA synthetic oil to use the generator blade. So the rotary, the nacelle part of the wind turbine, which is a fossil fuel, and obviously we're going to need to be shipping that in, right? So if we need to still be using fossil fuels, why don't we still continue to do so until we can think of something that's not going to be taking over our land space? Let's just think about solar farms as well. If solar was that good, people should be putting them on their houses. I went abroad a few months ago and I seen them. There was a car park, and what they'd done is they put solar farms, solar panels on this car park, the roof of the car park.
Oh, okay.
To generate power. So we could do that potentially all over roof spaces.
Yeah, now that's an idea.
That's a more viable option, isn't it, right? Than putting them on farmland.
Well, we've had, just in my area, my house, I live in a council house, and that's got solar panels on the roof, but we don't get the benefit of that.
Yep.
The benefit of it goes to the council, and we still pay electric like how everyone else would. We don't see the benefit of it. Do you think that that's the kind of thing that they're going for, where it's all for them, it's not really for the people?
Yeah, well, actually, there was a proof. Something happened the other week, and I can't remember exactly where this was, so forgive me for that. But there was a location where they had promised the residents that if you have this, renewable energy locally, then that will go back to the people. But actually, apparently, the local supermarket bought up all the power.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, so people are being sold something that potentially might not come back to them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's like the wind turbines offshore. They're being leased out. The sea space is actually being leased out.
Yeah.
By the Crown Estate. But who is actually benefiting from the power that they are generating? That's the question.
Certainly not us.
Exactly.
So could we go into a little bit more about what people can expect from this film on sort of renewable energy sources and why they might not actually be so renewable?
Well, yeah. So it's kind of giving people an overview to show people this is the problem. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of the time, I think with COVID and all of these other topics, people have been bashing their head against a brick wall. So if people can't see something, they find it very they can't relate to it. Mm. Now, this film is designed to show people that this is genuine government statistics and facts that we've used in this film to show people how widespread this is going to be across our country. Mm. So that's part of it. The other part of it is as well, like you were saying to me before we came on, that you're starting to see solar farms in your area. Mm. Now, a lot of people actually are, but if we can get them before they have gone and been approved and been built, that's when we can do something about it.
Yeah.
And that's when we can monitor our local council websites and say, right, okay, there's a new battery storage system being planned here, a solar farm being planned here. We can go out leaflet drops. We've made a leaflet for it so people can put the details on, so that we're giving the general public instructions as to what to do. We found that works really, really well with the general public. So if you want to stop something in your area, giving them clear-cut instructions as to how to do it. And then the offshoot of that is for people, in number one, in the freedom movement, to realise how serious this problem is, but number two, that the general public will be able to it's appeasable for the general public to watch this film as well.
Yeah. Have you had any backlash either in your professional or personal life? Because a lot of people in the freedom movement say that kind of waking up to these things and trying to wake other people up to these things is very lonely and isolating.
Very much so. I think when I first awakened to this agenda, I lost pretty much all of my friends. I think because nobody was awake. But what I realised over the course of the time is that was good. Now I look at it, because I think to myself, well, it made me realise what I was doing wrong and why I wasn't able to relate to people. And it's kind of like I think we all went into this panic mode that we didn't really know what was going to happen at that given moment. And you're very frantic. You seem very frantic, but really and truly it's passion, it's authenticity, it's realness, and it's genuine concern, which people misconceive, so they just can't relate to that sort of, what you're talking to them about. So yes, I have. And then what that made me realise is that you have to capture the general public in a different way. And that's how I kind of started to do things that people could see, and it was more relatable, more tangible, and thought of ways to kind of combat that, to basically awaken people, but maybe in a different way.
Yeah, I was going to ask, so do you think that could be the key to waking people up, find a relatable point where they can feel like, oh, no, I have thought that? Because the amount of times that I've spoken to my family and I've tried to tell them about, I don't know, COVID jabs or chemtrails or something like that, and I suppose in their eyes, I probably sound like a nutter. Because you have to ease them into it.
Yeah, I think it's more sort of, making it relatable for all.
Yeah.
Essentially, it's more about so people can see that there's a serious issue that we're not really being nationally told about, because obviously we don't have access to the mainstream media, do we? Right, so we have to do things in the best way that we possibly can to reach people. So yes, it will. That's what I'm hoping it's designed to do. Yeah.
So going into a little bit more about what we can expect from the films, and kind of the statistics that will be shown. Obviously, doing your own research from government statistics about things like our food supply and whatever. What's the worst thing or the most concerning thing that you've come across that you think people really need to know?
What, with the whole agenda?
Anything at all?
I think with smart technology, I think a lot of people don't really know the full picture of what that means. What does that do? I mean, a lot of people don't realise that 5G is creating a geofencing structure.
Could you explain what that is?
Yeah, so it's kind of like an invisible sort of boundary you can create from having all these towers here, there, and everywhere, which basically means it's a fence, kind of, but in an electronic sort of way that people don't see because they can't understand it.
Yeah.
And with addition to of that is the sensor. There's lots of sensors everywhere. So most people are being quite affected by, road closures, for an example. And people don't really realise, do you know why we're having all these road closures?
Well, no, I mean, you always just kind of go, oh, it's roadworks, and you go on about your day. You don't question it, do you?
Exactly. Yeah. That's the thing. But what it's really doing, I think, most of the time, is they're putting in fibre optic cabling. So that fibre optic cabling, that's where they're selling it to people as this really good thing. It's going to speed up your data, speed up your internet, speed up everything. But you then look at how many cameras we've got going around everywhere. The 5G towers, it's all about data, transmitting the data. So if you think about the smart city, they need to surveil you all the time. And that's why the data would need to be a lot faster. But these inconveniences, when you think about the inconveniences with people, general public, they don't want their roads dug up, or it's making businesses fall down and crash and crumble and these kind of things, or they're just pedestrianising roads and, you know, and people's businesses are failing, or, you know, it's having an impact on people's lives. That's when people care. That's the only time when people really care.
Your body's immune system is under constant attack from flu, respiratory diseases and the common cold. And as we all know, vitamin D3 plays a vital role in maintaining a robust immune system. Now you can boost your immune system with Immune X365, our unique formulation that combines effective levels of vitamins D3, C and K2, as well as zinc and quercetin. This unique combination of nutrients in Immune X365 ensures maximum bioavailability of D3, thereby giving your immune system an optimum boost. Or try our new Immune X365 gummies, which are formulated specifically for children and young adults aged from 9 to 17 years old. Remember, all NutriHealth 365 orders come with free 2-day track delivery. Go to NutriHealth365.com to get yours now.
My little village is right about 5 minutes off from a town, and a lot of people in the village are now seeing the gap between the village and the town closing.
Yeah.
And it's all just starting to become one big area. And do you think that that's what's going to start happening? Because 15-minute cities, obviously everything has to be within 15 minutes. So London, all of it, could not be a 15-minute city. It would have to be places within that. So how would that structure kind of come about and start breaking people apart?
It's a good question. I mean, I think a way to kind of maybe try and identify this, if I don't know how it's going to work in London per se, but I would imagine that they're going to have zones. And, you know, in different parts of the country are going to be in zoning different areas. And then I think they're going to have mayors. So this falls into the devolution sector, where the devolving the positions of the power from the UK government down to the councils, which would be sort of, this is why lots of mayors are getting elected. So once these mayors could get elected, there is that potential that they might be able to change the rules and laws in that local area. So then that would then create the basis of, you know, this would be a zone in this area.
Yeah.
Do you see?
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
So it could be like having, recently spoke to David Curtin, where he was on about the devolution sort of agenda and how that soon there will be a Sadiq Khan for every area.
Basically, that's what. Yeah.
So
yeah.
what's your views on things? I mean, I can guess what your view would be, but what's your views on things like ULEZ?
Well, I think Claire Dyer's been doing some amazing work with the ULEZ cameras, but I think it's to make money, isn't it? Right, but it's trying to put people off driving by, you know, putting all these exuberant costs and travelling. But what that's really doing is, number one, it's filling their pockets.
Yeah.
So they're making more money. But I mean, really and truly, I mean, all done under the guise of being green, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, so people would you say that people are stopping driving? Because I've just come back to London after not being here for a few months, and I can't see that people have stopped driving because of these charges.
No, it's always congested.
So therefore, that means it's not working with the so-called green, renewable, you know, clear air zone or whatever they call it. I can't remember, clean air zone or whatever. But yeah, it's not working, is it?
Yeah.
It's not changing.
So if all of these agendas collectively, I suppose you call them globalist agendas, call a spade,
Yeah.
what do you think our country or the world would look like under this? Is it going to be like you can't go out of your 15-minute cities unless you have some form of, I don't know, documentation or like a hall pass type situation? Or is it just not at all? What will it look like?
It will be like that. They will be able to shut you off your banking system. They will be able to control your movement and restrict your liberty. There is that strong potential there, and that's why we need cameras to surveil us, and we need so many cameras, and we need the data transmittant to be able to keep up with the cameras, and then that data will then be going back to the data centers. Yes, that is what's going to happen. And that's how they will use their smart city infrastructure to be able to hold all of this in place. And I think that's why it's very, very serious to poke holes or stop this agenda very quickly.
Yeah.
Because it's very far advanced. So anything could happen. Any calamity that could happen now, where they can then justify to keeping us safe. And I think most people don't like that word anymore, do we?
So how widespread do you think awareness is?
I think awareness is growing quite a lot, especially within the freedom movement. I think more so with cameras now. I think because the cameras are unprecedented. I think some people still don't really understand the street lights are talking to each other, and that the street lights then kick back to the 5G towers. I think more people are becoming aware of 5G, especially people that are realising some of the, if they've got one near their house and they're suffering with brain fog, tinnitus, headaches, all of these kind of things, it could be because of the 5G tower. So more people are becoming aware of smart tech. But we have to push back. We have to. Another issue as well that I can foresee will happen in the near future if we're not careful, is the drone agenda.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much you may or may not know about that, but what the intention is to have drones. So I think it will be kind of sold to the general public like, oh, it's going to be great because you'll be able to get your Amazon delivery in 1 hour's time.
Yeah.
And, you know...
Weren't they already... it might have been in the States. Wasn't there already a short period of time where they were trialling Amazon deliveries with drones?
Yeah.
And that didn't it go horribly wrong?
It went horribly wrong. Yeah, it did. But the intention is to kind of do that worldwide.
Yeah. So
that is the intention. But as to whether that is all of the agenda behind the drones is questionable. So they're trying to start like flight pass for drones, and that'll be for like commercial usage. But the only way really I can foresee that they will be able to roll out drones is through the use of smart poles, which we don't have them nationwide. It's not a huge issue at this right precise moment. So smart poles will have like docking stations potentially for drones to charge up. But that could mean there is that high level chance that if drones did take over and start occupying our skies, that means privacy is gone.
Well, that we're already at risk of privacy kind of dwindling out from underneath us with things like the threat of digital ID.
Yep.
And online censorship. Do you see things like that just continuing to get worse? Do you think in 10 years we'll even have platforms like X, YouTube and places like this where we can voice our opinions?
Probably not. No, the way that we're going, no. Because that's not a part of... They're the part of their huge part of the agenda in the Smart City Pitch Deck book, which was created by the UK government. There's a graph in there, and right in the middle of that graph, it says smart citizen. So that's what they want to turn people into, is a smart citizen.
That feels like a threat.
I'm just taking it from government.
What would? Oh no, not from you. No. What is a smart citizen? What would that be?
Well, everybody that complies with everything that's,
This just feels terrifying. I feel like I'm looking into a future of, one of the movies where they have all them, like the chips and things in. Is that the kind of thing
Well, in the human augmentation document, the next phase on to that is the augmentated glasses, and then the phase on from that would be the chipping. Yeah. So,
And how prevalent do you think that is as an issue? Like, how real is that right now? Is that in the making that you know of?
It's within the realms of possibility, shall we say. Yeah. And this is quite far ahead down the road. But again, that hasn't actually started in this country. So that means what we have to look at is what do they have that what do we have that they don't have? And the one thing that they really don't have is they don't have compassion.
Yeah.
And they don't have empathy. And they don't have the ability really to care. They only care for their own pursuits. And that's the skills that we really need to kind of home in on at the moment.
Is that how you think collectively people will kind of fight back against these things, by just sticking together?
I think so. But I think it's better to start that now, moreover, than leave ourselves at a complete disadvantage. Yeah.
Because how can people, in the freedom movement, sometimes there's contention between, you woke up too late, and, we were warning you about the jabs for ages, and, you've been jabbed, so it's your own fault, blah, blah, blah. But people wake up when they wake up. Mm-hmm. How would you suggest that people can fight back against these things if they think they've woken up too late? They're already living next to a 5G tower. They're already living in a village that's got fibre optic cables or whatever. How can we still continue the fight?
This is a really good question. And I think the one thing that we all need to remember, no matter what our views or beliefs or anything within the freedom movement are, there's one thing that we're all going against. And that is that we don't believe in this agenda in its entirety.
Yeah.
And that should be the one unifying factor out of absolutely everything out there. Going over to how you can build that within your community, it doesn't matter. I mean, like, no matter how far down you are down the road, you've got to think about it. People are now paying, I would say, I think it was 25% new council tax, isn't it?
Yeah, that's gone up.
Right?
Everything's gone up.
Exactly. So it's paying more, but we're getting less.
Yeah.
So that's affecting people. So even that, and you can talk to people in your local area, but I mean, some of the residents' associations have had local meetings with people from their local area, right? And on topics that are relatable to them. So, we can go, then you can take that over to the council and say, well, you've said under your freedom of information that you're spending less on the NHS this year, and, but you're spending more on other things that people don't know what they are. That's going to start winning over the general public. Once you're known within the general public in some way, shape or form at a level that they can actually relate to, it's much easier to start pushing back.
Within the film, obviously, we touched on earlier that this isn't the first one. Will it be the last?
No.
Do you have are there any solid ideas in the making?
Yeah, I've got a whole smart city film that I can put together, but I want to make mini sort of smart city clips.
Mm-hmm. And do you think that would be the best way to kind of reach people? Do you think the best way would be clips on social media where people are just constantly flicking, constantly seeing new things?
Yeah, I think like, look, if people have got a new tower coming outside their house and they want just to learn a little bit more about that, then to watch something for a couple of minutes is going to be much more effective than sitting there for an hour. People are only because people are only interested in something that impacts their lives. They won't allocate that much time sometimes to it, will they? Right? But when they know it's very, very serious, they'll spend time, a couple of minutes or, and then they will be more intrigued.
Absolutely.
Thereafter.
Within the film, obviously you talk about solar panels, wind turbines, battery and sorry, what are they called again?
BESS, battery energy storage systems.
So there's been technical faults with these that we kind of touched on earlier. Do you think that these are just coincidences and just mishaps, or do you think that it speaks to a larger scale of just general inadequacy?
Well, I think it's a bit of all of it, really. Yeah, a bit of all of it. I mean, battery energy storage systems, they're quite known to be explosive. I think there was a fire the other day created, I think, up in Aberdeen with the battery energy storage system. And I think there was another one. I'm not sure if the Heathrow one was anything to do with the battery energy storage system as well. Obviously, there's been 80 plus fires around the world because of battery energy storage systems. So if we want to start putting them all around our country, what does that look like?
Well, it's also funny how it's in the pursuit of net zero, but I mean, what pollution do those fires cause?
Exactly.
And how many fires are there going to be? Just like the solar farms, if they're all smashed and everything, I mean, how much, is there just shattered glass all over the place now? I mean, what?
Exactly.
And what oil goes into actually making them in the first place?
Exactly. And not just that. I mean, you think about the solar farms. Let's just say we wanted to use that as arable land afterwards, after the 20 or 40-year leases that they've been now occupying this land for. Will we be able to ever grow and use that land again?
Do you think that it will be, there'll be soil depletion because of that?
I would hate to say, but because we can't see long-term ecology assessments, well, I've not been able to find some. I mean, if anybody does have any up there, please let me know. But it could be very questionable. What would the land, the soil be like after having these structures mounted on this arable, what was good arable land prior? What could that look like thereafter? I don't know.
What do you think this is going to look like for our food security? Because there's already a lot of contention with food security in this country with everything going on with farmers. I don't know if you've been keeping up to date with, obviously, the inheritance tax. I've spoken to farmers who are actually saying now they get paid more to plant and grow flowers, wildflowers, than food. I mean, obviously, I think it's deliberate.
Yes.
But do you think that it's deliberate, and to what end?
I'm actually a surveyor, and I was talking about rewilding for quite a long time, because I know from land use, change of land use. So it's very dependent, it's very variable, and I'm not too sure what the sort of change of use is with regard to this now. But when I seen that they were asking them to rewild and paying them these unforeseen amounts of money, I realised quite early on that actually if they're taking out leases for a certain period of time, so prior to that it was able to be used whatever class it would fall under to be able to be farming land, and then obviously if they're being now paid not to do anything with it, to rewild it, so let's just say after the lease expires, and they'll say, well, no, nobody complained about that, so therefore that's untouched land, that's been rewilded, so you're not allowed to touch that again. That is the risk that we are facing under the laws that we have in this country.
Right, so it could be a long-term land grab then.
Change of use, because done under the guise of rewilding. Same as solar. Oh well, nobody's complained about that. That's absolutely fine. So that's okay. And so it's gone from farming land now over to a solar farm. Sorry, because nobody's made a complaint about the change of use under UK law. That would then mean, that you can't change it back again unless you, there is that potential.
This is not a very good outlook, is it?
No, and that's why we need our communities.
Yeah.
Honestly, that is 100% why we need our communities. People like you and I can't just do this alone, and that's why I try to make it as relatable to the general public as possible, so that we can start winning over public favour, so that we can start pushing back successfully.
Do you think it's going to get to the point where people start going and creating off-grid communities? I know some people are already starting to do that. Do you think that that's a good idea? Would you advise that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if people are doing that, then I think that's absolutely right. I know some people that are doing that as well. And I think that it makes sense.
Yeah.
But we have to remember that this is everywhere. So
how safe would someone, if someone did create an off-grid community and then the rollout of 15-minute cities, digital ID and all these different types of things, could they then come into that off-grid community and enforce exactly the same? Looks like it.
I don't know. I mean, many years ago, you think about wars. People used to have a fortress around themselves, didn't they? And they used to get prepared for war because they knew that they were going into battle. The majority of the general public in the UK have no idea what's actually happening. Therefore, we're kind of innocent, unarmed and unprepared, essentially. So, but who knows? I don't know. People might be ready. We might be left alone. There was something from the World Economic Forum where they said that, they were expecting people to be living in two different paradigms, but as to whether that means that they would leave people like us alone is another matter in its entirety, isn't it?
Well, we can only hope. So when is there a release date for the film as of yet?
As soon as possible.
Okay, as soon as possible. Brilliant.
Yeah.
What else can people, have you got any other projects that are in the making that are coming up that people can kind of watch out for at all?
Yeah, I'm going to try and work on my drone project to help people so that, they can be a bit more prepared if they see like smart poles or things like that happening. So what to kind of look out for. So that will be my next project thereafter. Will be the drones situation. So, yeah.
And where can people find you on social media or find your previous films that you've done?
Okay, yeah, so we've got everything, all the previous films and stuff on the website. We do have a BitChute channel and we also have a Telegram channel as well.
Could you just say the names of the website and the usernames?
Yeah, so website's National Residents Association. And then it's the same on Telegram and the same on BitChute as well, so it's all the same.
Brilliant.
But yeah. All the videos will be easier to find on BitChute, but yeah, they're all on the website and Telegram. So yeah,
lovely. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come and speak to me, and it was lovely meeting you.
Thank you for having me.
For more exclusive behind-the-scenes content, please be sure to subscribe to our Patreon. It really helps us cover the cost of any live streams, events, protests, or anything that we do. You'll also be seeing any behind-the-scenes footage and anything that we might be doing with Defiance Records.
Resistance GB's new series, 1,000 Words, has me, portrait artist Jake Fern, talking to some of the key figures in the movement. Half my brain concentrating on having a conversation, and the other half on making a painting. Do I succeed at either? You be the judge.